Okay, so I'm going to talk about regarding my apartment hunting experience with this one. Still in Hsinchu. I'm not going to mention where, obviously. Quiet place. It's nice. It's not a morning market, so that's a huge advantage. Now, I'm going to talk about my experience renting this time with the realtor, and I will right off the bat just tell you, not a pleasant experience. Again, I used the website 591.com.tw to look for the listing of this apartment online, and as many of them now are, they don't go through the landlord. Many people now have a realtor. Don't know why, because there's a fee and all of that stuff, but regardless, it was through a realtor. And seemingly very nice lady, and I'm not going to say she is a bad lady, and I won't say who she is, but from what I understand from many people who I've also spoken to regarding their renting experiences, and I'm not saying everyone, remember that, but realtors are certainly not the most honest people. Regardless, we met up with her, and then we started negotiating details, and this is where I'm going to tell you about my experience. Okay, so she actually did have the landlord come and sit with us, and we negotiated the details. I believe initially it was listed as 21,000 NT per month, again for this space that is maybe 26 ping, I believe. And she said, the realtor said, this includes what's called a community fee. A community fee is for any public facility, such as the electricity used for the elevator is shared amongst every tenant. Now, keep in mind, although my mom is Taiwanese, she hasn't lived in Taiwan for over 23 years herself. So the time where she was renting, and the rules and regulations and everything like that have completely and drastically changed. So she was not familiar herself, and obviously I don't know. Back in the States, all contracts are very standard. Every tenant gets the same rule, no exceptions, etc. So it's a very simple process. I think it's a very trustworthy process. Of course, it does protect landlords a little bit more than tenants in most cases. But in this case, it was chaos. So like I mentioned, she mentioned the 21,000 would include the community fee. Usually community fees depends on, I believe it depends on how many tenants there are, and it's basically shared amongst everyone. And the more public space you have, which includes the parking garage, by the way, the more expensive it will be. So roughly now it's costing me about 2,000, okay? And remember, she said it was included in the 21,000. We already signed the contract and everything, and turns out the landlord says, no, I've never rented out a place where a community fee is included. And we said, that's not what the realtor said. And she says, oh no, you should never believe realtors. And that was a very shocking moment. And at the time, we were not actually considering to get this apartment because it is rather high, 21,000 for the space. We don't have a public garden and things like that. Either way, it was pretty high. We managed to negotiate it down to 20,000 if we signed for 2 years instead of 1 year. And already, if that wasn't enough, during the beginning, the landlord herself, as well as the realtor, mentioned, well, a way for us to save money is if we rent out our car space or our parking spot. I don't have a car, I only have a scooter. Therefore, we're thinking, okay, we could rent it out for about maybe, I don't know, I think for some people per month it's about 2,000 to 3,000, depends on where you reside. But in my area, it's running about 2,000 to 3,000 per month. And this is what the landlord herself told us. Was she said, okay, it's fine. I'll try to ask my other tenants if they need an additional parking spot, and I'll let you know. Long story short, our landlord is a little cray-cray, as I mentioned. And she would contact us via line, which many landlords and such do. People here just contact each other through the app Line, and just constantly messaging, I believe not only my mom, but basically her tenants, including my mom, regarding about keeping her place safe and clean and undamaged. And of course it got to the point where it was really frustrating. There were these long posts, multiple posts a day, or messages a day, and it got out of hand where it really annoyed my mom, obviously. I didn't get them because she knew I couldn't read Chinese. And eventually my mom told her, look, we are renting your place. You have to expect normal wear and tear. We don't deliberately ruin your place. You have to expect normal wear and damage, whatever it may be. And it's sort of unfair that you're sending these messages because now there's no longer a relationship of trust, right? Which I think makes sense. As you saw in our place, we weren't hanging anything. We tried to keep the walls very clean. We don't push anything near the walls because if you know, in Taiwan, these are made of cement and the paint often chips off very easily. So we don't even try to touch our objects with the walls or have any contact with the walls, etc. And she's just messaging us all the time. It's harassment essentially, and we're just trying to tell her to cool it, right? Like, calm down. It's not that big of an issue. She would talk to us about the bathroom, like, don't destroy the bathroom or the toilet, don't ruin the walls. It was just constant messages. And we just expected her to say, well, you know, okay, I just wanted to make sure, I've had bad experiences. That's fine if she explained to us. However, instead, she blows up and starts messaging my mom. Oh, so you're saying I'm not a trustworthy person? Are you saying I'm a deceitful person? Things like this. And I was just stunned. Like, what is happening? We only said, hey, you know, it would just be very nice if you actually trusted us too. You know, we are not that type of person. We are very clean people, as you can see when you've seen us. Don't know what's going on. Even before that, you know, this apartment was not even really ready to be rented out. And for the longest time, we didn't have hot water. And this was the time when I was just recovering. If you watch my update video regarding 2016, I literally was sick and I'm getting cold ass showers, like freezing cold showers because there's no hot water. And I was contacting her, etc. Like, this is so far a bad experience, bad juju in this place. So again, she blows up. Fast forward a few months, there was a nice young lady. I don't know, I didn't meet her myself, but she asked my mom, she says, hey, are you a tenant here? And my mom says yes, etc. And she's asking if she could rent out a space. And I believe she is basically like a marketing firm, and her colleagues work here in one of the apartments as an office space. So they all have more than one vehicle. So they were looking to rent someone's parking spot. And my mom said, oh, well, perfect. Let me contact my landlord and make sure it's okay with her, etc. And keep in mind, this is after maybe 3 or 4 months after our landlord went crazy. Granted, she stopped texting us, but went crazy for no reason. I don't know, she's a very sensitive lady. And we told her about the situation, like, hey, we found someone who wanted to rent out our parking spot. She seems like a very sweet girl. Is it cool? We just want to run it by you. And she says, no. And we were sort of stunned, like, why? Can you give us a reason? I thought you mentioned, well, in the beginning, you're gonna even help us look for a tenant to rent out your parking spot. And she says, well, you know, the parking spots are really close, and if you nick up the car next to you, well, I'm gonna get in trouble and I have to hassle and deal with this. It's gonna be such a headache. I don't want to deal with it. And we said, well, if there's some problem between, you know, the person who's renting our spot with her neighbor, it's between them. I don't see how we're involved. It's between their insurance companies. So what are you talking about? Oh, there's a cat behind you. And yeah, I was just baffled. And I honestly think she was trying to fuck with us. Just saying, no, I don't feel like it because I don't have to. And again, read your contract very carefully. She did have something, I think from what my mom said, is regarding if we want to rent it out or sublease anything, even including the parking spot. Yes, we have to get her permission. Makes sense, but in this situation, I highly recommend that if something is said, for example, when we talked about negotiating the rent down, and in addition, she said she would help us find a parking spot, and we are allowed to rent out our parking spot. Have that in writing on the contract. And for instance, for the community fee, have that in writing. Have every single thing in writing before you sign your name. Have her sign those edits and changes on the contract first, and then sign your name on the damn piece of paper. It was so ridiculous. I have never been so upset by a landlord. I think I'm very lucky that throughout all of my renting experiences, both in California and here, never had such a terrible experience. It was god awful. I don't really like her, to be honest, and I didn't say who I'm not gonna say who she is, obviously, but I'm telling you this from my very hard lesson where I'm paying more than I should be. I'm basically getting ripped off for my apartment. I'm stuck here for a 2-year contract. Learn from me, protect yourself. Don't believe the realtor. They are honestly all liars unless you have someone you truly trust and find, if they're your friend or your family's friend. Even then, I will still be on guard. They will say whatever they can so that they get their commission fee. And looking back, considering that she promised us a community fee was included in our rent and wasn't, I should have asked for her commission back, frankly. It was about $10,000 NT that we gave her, and that was absolutely wrong because she lied straight to our faces. On top of that, when we were talking to the landlord, we were even mentioning, oh yeah, we have 2 cats, and she says, oh, I have a dog too. We're like, okay, we're both animal lovers, cool. And once we moved in and she saw our 2 cats, she was like, oh, you have cats. They're not going to scratch our furniture, right? And I am just baffled by this two-faced woman who went from, oh, that's so nice, you really like animals, to, oh, you're not going to damage our property, right? I didn't even know you had cats. What is this world, you know? So the less communication you have with your landlord, the better. In fact, now looking at the situation, don't give them your line account if you use it very often. Just tell them, if you need me, call me. That's it. Internet is too convenient in this case. Less contact with the landlord, the better. And if you need to contact them for repairs or whatsoever, contact them via phone. Go through the extra cost or hassle of calling them. I don't think it's wise to give them your internet communication, because if you meet a crazy woman who's going to bombard your line with just endless messages at night regarding damaging her property, then don't do it. She plans to basically sell this place off eventually. So she's just waiting for the opportunity. So even then, I think after our 2-year contract, she does want to kick us out, or she will be kicking us out. So keep such in mind. Be wise. If you know someone who can accompany you and has experience renting, I have heard there are some shady people who will know that you're a foreigner and unfamiliar with the rules and laws here. They will take advantage of that. So best if you can find someone to go with you who speaks very fluent Mandarin. I don't speak very fluent Mandarin and I cannot read, so immediately they know I could be taken advantage of. Had I not had my mom there, I think it would have been even worse. So who knows? Be very cautious. Get everything in writing before you sign your paper or the contract, and think of literally everything. Read every single line, make the changes. Ask about the rent in detail. In fact, even write it out on the contract if needed. For example, what does this include? The parking space, if you want to rent it out. Make sure you can rent it out, etc. Everything in writing is the safest. So overall, I do enjoy the place. It is in a nice, convenient location. Very quiet. Air is pretty nice. The tenants here thus far are pretty okay. Hopefully I don't jinx myself. And best of all is I can have my 2 cats here, and my mom can hang out here. And eventually when my aunt retires, she could come move in with us and hang out with my mom while I'm at work. So overall, everything is nice. It's just that realtors and landlords can suck. This was the first time I ever had such a crappy landlord. My other times, back in the States and California, and also here, my first studio apartment, fantastic. So just super. Anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling about my experience. If you have any questions regarding that, let me know. Otherwise, you guys have a good day, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.